Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolves Fancast YouTube channel with me, Gully, for another episode of GTA Fancast. We're back with a win, another 3 points. Welcome for sure. Big sigh of relief from my own perspective, but we're going to get into the tactics behind all of that, in particular looking at the first half, how we can kind of use Arsenal as a bit of a blueprint as well, as to how they play that shape, but also what that shape means for us going forward. So, as has been the way, Wolves flitting in between systems, in between shapes. We haven't had much consistency, and I think Nuno took a little bit of inspiration from our previous result against Arsenal in terms of setting up for this game. Went back to the back four. Now, if we look at that as a direct comparison to the way we played against Crystal Palace, I think we're all pretty comfortable with the idea that we just weren't at the races whatsoever against Palace, but partly that was to do with the fact that we had that slightly more defensive setup, less options ahead of the ball, and it went on to show specifically in that first half as well. And I'm going to do a bit of a comparison kind of as I talk between those two games, that we were totally toothless. For all of Willian Jose coming in for his first start, he wasn't able to really have an impact on the game just because we weren't getting the ball into the key areas of the pitch with our kind of talented, creative players on the ball. And if you have a look at just the outputs kind of from that game, in terms of how many shots we were having, quite obviously, you only have to look at the fact that we had 0 shots in the first game against Palace compared to this time around. No matter how badly we were playing from a defensive point of view, we still managed to pose a threat because we had more players in higher parts of the pitch. Made the Arsenal defence work a little bit harder. Putting plenty of crosses in, we won a lot of corners. There were just little things that happened in the first half against Arsenal that just never looked likely whatsoever against Crystal Palace. And that all just came about for all the lack of security we had in defence in our own third. We just had a little bit more about us in that final third. And I just think for now, this is the way to go with persisting with it. We've got 16 games left in the season. We're not in that kind of crisis mode football of just trying to get a result week to week, and hoping that we kind of stay in the division. We have to come up with a more sustainable way of playing, and I think the back four is definitely the way to go about it. Now, we struggled defensively. We didn't have a natural left back in there, and for all Kilman's kind of natural left-footedness and just being able to think that he can do that job, it's quite obvious with the angles, the way that Bukayo Saka and Bellerin in particular kind of toyed with him a little bit. Really struggled. But if we think about our goal, I just want to highlight this in the clip that I show you now. You can see straight away, we win the ball kind of halfway up the pitch, and straight away there are enough players in forward positions to go out and pick out. Daniel Pedence in acres of space, and it's a nice quick pass actually that finds him in that space. That doesn't really happen if we are playing the back three shape, and I'll go on to explain why. But we'll just kind of play through the goal, the situation that built up to the penalty. Pedence picking that ball up in that area, I don't think is likely to happen if we're playing with the three that we started with against Crystal Palace. And if I kind of refer you to my board, I've kind of laid out the team in the shape as it was in that situation, but with the 3 attackers ahead of the ball, as there would have been if it was that 3-4-3. Your wing backs kind of still up here. I think natural kind of negative mindset would have dictated that being the case with the way that Arsenal were playing in particular. And to be fair to them, very good. Probably the best team I've seen us play for the first 45 minutes as a whole this season. So we have to give them credit for that. But you see straight away here, where Pedence picked up the ball, realistically, Willian Jose is your man who's going to come in and accept that pass with his back to goal. Okay, you've got maybe Pedence, maybe Neto either side of him there, but realistically, the centre half's going to come right in tight with Jose as he comes and shows for it. Whereas if I kind of build that pattern of play up again with the extra number 10, with Willian Jose there, the centre half can't come tight. Naturally, this guy is occupying these 2 players really, and just thought, it didn't happen often, but the one chance that Pedence got in behind the 2 kind of double pivot of Arsenal's central midfield, you see straight away, really dangerous position, almost automatically straight in there, quick pass, we win the penalty. But that doesn't happen if we play with that front three that we started with against Crystal Palace. So just to touch on a number of areas I think we can improve, because I don't think any of us, really got the impression it was a good Wolves performance. Plenty of luck went our way, but we capitalised on it. And I think we still have a lot of work to do to build kind of that confident way of playing again. I think we missed a bit of a trick in the sense that, yes, we went 2-1 up quite early in the second half, but we could have just done with the period in the game where for 15-20 minutes we've really pinned Arsenal back, moving the ball really quickly. Being at 1-1, we'd have to chase the game. It's imperative on us to do that with the extra men, especially. But going 2-1 up with a screamer just stopped us from, really trying to prise them open. And we went to that safety first kind of mentality. And to be fair to Nuno, he pointed out in his post-match, that's not what he wanted to happen. He said he wanted us to have the ball and cause them problems rather than have the ball in order to stop them from causing us problems. And given the first half, maybe it's understandable because they looked like scoring every time they went forward. But we've got a lot of work to do in this shape. I think the first thing we need to understand best is, how we press and how we, put pressure on teams from that shape. Because yes, it might have looked like we weren't pressing Arsenal, but I just don't think we were pressing Arsenal well. We still put plenty of pressure on the ball. But if you have a look at Martinho's stats as an example, successful pressures in this instance means us getting the ball back within 5 seconds of someone going to close a man down. He's working hard, but he's not working smart. Neves slightly better, and we kind of allowed Partey and Xhaka to have too much of an influence on that game for me. Really, really good players, to be fair to them. Xhaka impresses me more every time I watch him. I used to think he was an absolute dud. But if we kind of think about then the real, safety first mentality that came with the rest of the game, they go down to 9 men, and we were kind of in this shape for a lot of the time. Kilman acting as a third centre half, essentially, obviously not encouraged to move forward. Cody kind of ended up back in this little kind of deep sweeper role that he tends to play when we play with the back three. And all the passing from the midfielders was just very safe, side to side. Eventually, the ball might get to Traoré and Neto, they might take a man on, and then we might create something. But really, there was no onus on us from there to go and really take advantage of the situation we were in, which was a very good one where we had 2 extra players on the pitch. So frustrated by that, I've got to be honest. And I still think it's a back four going forward. We should be persisting with it. I think we need to make sure we've got natural fullbacks in place. We really struggled with that relationship between fullback and winger going forward, and obviously the fullback, defensively as well, with Kilman in particular. So I think it gives us an extra kind of weapon in our armoury going forward as well. Just seeing the way that Bukayo Saka and Bellerin had a really nice relationship caused us a lot of problems down that flank, and we should be taking advantage of that with the players that we have. And I think we've got enough time to allow the system to bed in. 16 games, we're not in crisis mode football at the moment. We're not playing week to week as if we, all the points matter at the moment. Let it bed in. We win more than we lose, I think, playing this shape. We're not going to play in Arsenal every week, and they were very, very good. To be fair to them, probably the best team I've seen against us this season, particularly in that first half. So let's go out and attack teams. Let's let our talent do the talking and make sure we take advantage of the real quality that we have in our ranks. And the other thing is get a little bit more out of Willian Jose. I think when he has it, he's really good with it, but he's not getting it enough. And if I show you kind of how we're trying to use him in the Arsenal game, it just felt a little bit hopeful, a little bit too direct. And a lot of the passes weren't reaching him, based on the statistics that we've got here. So let's be a little bit cuter. Let's build the player a little bit more and get it into his feet, in and around the box. And let's play with him then, because he had some nice little flicks and turns and little, link ups with the other forward players. So promising. He looks a really good, mature, experienced footballer, and I think he's going to get goals for us as well. Appreciate I've been quite negative today. So I'm going to play us out on this little clip from the game, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'll see you next week.